When a website requires absolute reliability, it relies on enterprise-grade infrastructure. Platforms like Nimbica are engineered to route massive amounts of data across global networks, ensuring instantaneous delivery and high availability routing. The technical output supports this image. Nimbica promises sub-45 millisecond delivery speeds and perfect 100 scores across Google's performance and accessibility benchmarks. Digital agencies manage this ecosystem through a dense, data-heavy interface. They connect multiple domains, monitor traffic overview charts, and control their digital footprint from a single dark mode dashboard. The system tracks hundreds of deployments and manages over 1.2 million visits with precision. Looking at this interface and reviewing the performance data, a user makes a logical assumption. The sheer scale and UI polish suggest a heavily funded tech corporation, backed by a 50-person engineering team actively monitoring the stack. The reality is much smaller. There is no engineering team, no corporate headquarters, no dedicated support staff. The entire platform is built, maintained, and operated by exactly one person. This creates an intense psychological pressure to project a faceless corporate exterior. The solo founder feels forced to disguise their true scale to compete for contracts against established tech giants. When selling trust-critical infrastructure like SEO pipelines and WooCommerce checkouts, customers demand absolute security. A business owner won't entrust their entire conversion funnel to a single individual working from a spare bedroom. Projecting an enterprise facade wins that early trust, but it immediately locks the founder into a trap. By hiding their true size, they become a deeply concealed, highly vulnerable single point of failure. From the outside, the user experience is designed for speed. A 6-panel onboarding flow handles the entire setup, hiding the underlying complexity behind a clean interface and success checkmarks. Underneath that interface, it takes a resource-heavy PHP website and instantly fractures it into dozens of fast-moving static nodes. Every time a customer updates, the system reacts, replicating those assets across global edge networks to ensure the origin server is never hit. Maintaining this architecture requires a single human brain to hold the entire system map in its working memory. During late-night debugging sessions, the founder must manually trace routing logic across hundreds of interconnected dependencies alone. The founder engineered this platform to eliminate single points of failure for their users. In doing so, they inadvertently made themselves the ultimate single point of failure for the entire network. The architecture eventually hit a ceiling. A catastrophic bug involving Cloudflare Pages deployment limits triggered a system-wide failure, bringing the massive deployment engine to a complete halt. For 11 days, the system remains locked. The founder worked in isolation, trying to bypass a hidden deployment limit, while user builds silently failed in the background. At 2 a.m., with critical infrastructure down, there is no senior engineer to consult. There is no shift change coming to relieve the pressure of the outage. Technical failure is a stressor, but the potential exposure of the corporate disguise is a crisis. The founder watches the system logs in the dashboard, knowing that any customer who checks the logs will see a one-man operation struggling to regain control. The failing reality sat in sharp contrast to the public-facing promises. The homepage continued to advertise 99.9% uptime and instant load speeds, while the backend was effectively offline. The darkest moment for a solo builder isn't the code breaking. It's the terror that the corporate facade will crack, destroying their users' trust the moment the truth is revealed. The deployment bug was eventually patched, and the system came back online. But the real resolution was a change in the founder's operating philosophy. Attempting to match the output of a 50-person engineering team in total secrecy is a guaranteed path to burnout. It is an unsustainable way to manage a high-availability system. The founder adopted a protocol of radical transparency. The monolithic corporate structure was dissolved, allowing the lone builder to connect directly to the users relying on the platform. Instead of hiding the 11-day failure, the founder published a detailed postmortem. They documented every failed patch and explained exactly why the system hit its limit, exposing the one-man operation to the entire customer base. Treating catastrophic failures as public educational material removed the cognitive weight of the disguise. There was no longer a secret to protect. The aftermath was mixed. Several enterprise-level clients left immediately, citing the lack of a 24/7 support team. However, For the majority of the agency partners and indie hackers, the raw honesty of the postmortem turned a technical disaster into a moment of human connection. In the software world, users often place deeper trust in a publicly accountable human who admits to a struggle than they do in a faceless corporation that hides behind a generic maintenance status page. The platform eventually returned to peak performance, with successful deployments and a green status across the global network. It now operates supported by open communication rather than a fragile disguise. The journey moves from the hubris of an isolated build into the realization that community is required to survive a failure. The founder no longer works in the dark. When building infrastructure alone, vulnerability is a constant. Transparency ensures that when the system breaks, the trust doesn't break with it.